All right. Good morning. My name is Dustin Seaton. I'm the Advanced Placement District Coordinator for the Rogers Public Schools. My title is Director of Advanced Programs, so I work for all kindergarten through 12th grade advanced learners in the district. But today we're going to talk specifically about the Advanced Placement Proctor Training. So thank you for joining us if you're joining us live or whether or not you're joining us on demand for our recording. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable, knowledgeable, and prepared for our AP exams, which will start the first 2 weeks of May. So today's training is in design. It's in consultation with the AP manual from the College Board. But ultimately, we want to make sure that you know who your point of contact is at the building. I'm the district point of contact. So if you have questions from a district side or something, maybe even contact with the College Board, you can reach out to me. Again, my name is Dustin Seaton. At our building level, though, and this is probably who you've been in direct contact, we have Dr. Stephen Weber at Heritage High School, who is our AP coordinator at that building. We have Miss Sarah Raymond at Rogers High School. She is our AP coordinator at Rogers High or RHS. And then we have Milton Martinez at Rogers New Tech High School. We want to make sure you know that they are your point of contact for the specific exams at a specific school. So if you have specific questions or follow-up questions, I would encourage you to reach out to them directly or myself. And again, this video is on demand, so you can fast forward, speed through, do what you need. Our goal today is really just to kind of explain the AP process, the eligibility, the rules, the kind of the exam day, what to expect. And since we're moving for the first time to an online platform using Blue Book. So this is the first time the majority of our AP exams, our advanced placement exams, will be taken online rather than paper and pencil. We wanted to make sure that we support you as a proctor, but also we've been preparing our students all year for this mind shift change formatting. We do have time for Q&A at the end, so if you have follow-up questions, feel free to post those in the chat, and or you can send them to me or any of our AP building level coordinators as well. So let's talk about really Rogers Public Schools. The reason we need to do this, we are now the fourth largest school district in the state of Arkansas. We're surrounded by some of the most populated school districts in the state. Springdale's number 1, Bentonville's number 2, Little Rock dropped to number 3, and now we're number 4. You can see some of our demographics. Because of that, we have 15,281 students, and we want our students in the Rogers Public Schools to think all of them have the opportunity for advanced learning or accelerated learning opportunities. So even though we are a very unique and diverse, large district in Benton County, our student population, we only have about 46% of our students taking an AP exam this school year, which is huge. That's almost half the population taking an advanced placement course, which prepares students for college and beyond. But it's also just giving them an opportunity to experience what a college course could be like in the high school setting. So we will be giving out 3,304 exams, assuming everybody shows up and no sickness, no sport conflicts or scheduling conflicts. And if you want to look at it by building, we have 46% at Rogers Heritage, 42% at Rogers High, 57% at New Tech. So we really do want to expand these options and continue offering quality, rigorous programming at all 3 of our high schools in the Rogers Public Schools. All right, we offer currently 32 exams, so that's why when they say the AP exam schedule, there's several in the morning for the AM shift. We break for lunch, and then there's several in the afternoon for the PM shift. We want to make sure kids don't have conflicts, because if they have multiple tests being offered at the same time, we need to know that ahead of time, and we've done that on our end. However, sometimes it falls through the cracks. So if that happens during the week of AP exams, it's not a big deal. We have the opportunity to provide late exams for any student that shows up late, it gets sick, or has a scheduling conflict for a school-related event. Some key terms that I would encourage y'all just to be familiar with. When we talk about an AP coordinator, there's a building level AP coordinator, which would be like those individuals I mentioned earlier, Dr. Weber, Mr. Martinez, Ms. Raymond at each building. I am the district AP coordinator, so I'll work with all 3 of them to make sure that we have equitable programming at all 3 high schools, and we're providing support for the teachers and the students. Your role will be the proctor. The proctor is the adult, and it has to be an adult. They have to be authorized by your building AP coordinator. to be present during the AP exam. You're accountable for the AP exam and the actual administration of that AP exam during that time frame. Generally, your time frame is a 3 to 4 hour window, just to kind of give you that idea. We want a little bit of prep front loading before, because we know sometimes you got to get the room ready before the kids come in. Since we'll be administering this exam this year on the majority of our tests online, we want to make sure we have all the Chromebooks charged, that there are cords if we needed to plug in computers and things like that. So we want to walk through some of these details just to make sure that you are all prepared and feel ready and experienced for our AP exams. The online app that students will be using this year is called Blue Book, and that is a brand new term for us in the Rogers Public Schools this year. It is the digital testing app that has been designed by the College Board, and it has already been plugged in on and installed on all of the Chromebooks that students will be using. We've already encouraged and asked that our AP teachers use Blue Book currently in their instructions, so students have some familiarity with it. But if you're new as an AP Proctor, we wanted you to also be familiar with that term, Blue Book, because when I was in high school, Blue Book meant a physical piece of paper that you did your answers in. Now it's digitized, so students will be writing their answers, their essays, all that stuff in that digital app. Students can test in Blue Book using Windows laptops, the tablets, Mac laptops, iPads, etc. New Tech is the one that uses MacBooks. Everyone else in the district will be using those Windows Chromebook or those Chromebooks, those Google Chromebooks. And so that's why technology isn't something that you necessarily need to be concerned about, but we definitely know that that's a component now with the proctor job. Students' computers may crash, something may happen with Blue Book issues, and that's outside of my expertise, and I'm sure y'all may be worried about that too. We have procedures in place of what to do in case that happens on test day. You don't need to worry about that at this point. The test day toolkit is a term that the College Board puts out. It's the web application used to administer the digital AP exams. So your test day toolkit will largely be your lead proctor, which would be what they use to open the rooms, put the codes out there for students to use the access to get into Blue Book and so forth. And then in some cases, we may ask y'all to be our accommodations rooms. We have to have special rooms assigned for students that need extended time or large print because of individual IEPs or 504 needs, and those are legal requirements. So our AP coordinators have already started entering all of the accommodations that are required to make sure that students with any disabilities or modifications for test day will have that provided. We'll have separate rooms for those students. So that way, if they have an extended time, they will all have the opportunity to have that extended time in it for whether it's 150%, 200%, whatever that is. We will have that designated, and your building level AP coordinator will let you know if you're assigned to one of those extended time rooms with students with disabilities or 504s or IEP needs. Okay. So on the exam day, there is a test day oversight, and I've clicked that hyperlink. We'll share this presentation with you, so you'll have all these hyperlinks and videos for you to watch between now and the next 3 weeks to help you reinforce that you feel comfortable as the proctoring adult in the AP exam room to do the duties as assigned. We want to make sure students or the proctors have the room prepared before the students arrive, and your AP coordinator will let you know those specific duties. We want to familiarize yourself, if you have students with accommodations, what those accommodations will be. Most of the time, it will just be extended time. So it's not anything different. It's just a longer administration time. We want to make sure you have access, if you're the lead proctor, that you'll have access to get into Tool Day Kit through a College Board account. Most of the time, it may be your AP coordinator that will be the lead proctor, and you won't have to worry about that. But your AP coordinator for each building will let you know if you will be in charge of opening or accessing that. And that link is available as well. There are specific exam day guides. This is kind of like one-pagers that we can give you access to. But ultimately, we want to make sure your job is just to be physically present to help kids feel comfortable asking questions. That's the most important thing that we want from y'all during the AP exam, is just that there's no testing irregularities like cheating, We don't want students to have access to their devices, smart watches, things like that. So we really just want y'all walking through the room and just being there in case kids have issues. And these kids will be nervous. So they need that trusting adult to provide grace and some security and peace of mind, so that way they can do the best they can on these exams. So some proctor duties, we said familiarize yourself with the examination and the security. Again, we can talk about that in some of the videos and some of the handouts we will provide. Familiar yourself with those accommodations, read the proctor day exam, and bring all the necessary materials to the rooms. We want to make sure that you have you understand the responsibility of the exams, because when students run out of time, they have to stop either that portion of the exam or the exam in its entirety. We're not allowed to have students go back and open it back up, especially since it's all digitized. And there probably will be some questions from students. And we also have questions as adults. We are learning this as well. So there will be some learning curve from all of us, and that's okay. We just want to make sure we don't do any testing irregularities that could jeopardize the students' scores for whatever reason, whether they needed something longer or accommodations that weren't provided, etc. Your main duties will be calming the kids down, being a reassurance presence, helping them log into Blue Book before the exam starts, so that way they have access to take their exam, making sure that we do appropriate start and stop times for each exam. We do have to take attendance because we want to know who's physically in the building taking the exam versus who's not, in case we have to order late exams for students. And we also just want to make sure kids are moving along, because there are some students in Arkansas, they get weighted credit if they take the actual AP exam. So some students may be just taking the exam for the weighted credit and they're not applying themselves. We don't want that to be the case, but we know that has happened in the past. So we do want, as proctors, you can encourage kids to continue to move along. If they're putting their head down or if they're not being productive, you can encourage kids to continue. We also want to make sure that kids submit their exams properly, because it hurts us if the students have done all the work and then they don't actually hit submit to have their exams scored. One key advice that I would recommend as proctors: arrive early, and you want to make sure that you have access to the Wi-Fi. All that will be available with your AP building coordinator there. But if you're showing up for the exam starting at 8 or even 7:50, it's going to cause you a lot more stress. So I would encourage you to get there 30 to 45 minutes ahead of time, walk through, so that way you understand where you're going and kind of what your specific duties are assigned for that day by your AP coordinator. And if you have questions, you have that one-on-one conversation with your AP building level coordinator about what duties specifically they need from you that day. Make sure the devices are charged, because we are using online assessments this year. We want to make sure that kids, when they're done with their exams, they've plugged them in for the next day or for the next afternoon exams. Or if they're signing up, that they're not just having a dead computer and we have to figure out where to find a new one. Whoops, there it is. We want to count. In some cases, the exam packets still need to be counted because they're not digitized. Most of our foreign language exams this year will not be digitized online. So that means they will be doing like AP Spanish language. In some cases, maybe some of the sciences, like the physics exams, may have some online or on paper exams. Those will be a case-by-case basis. And we may need y'all to help us count the actual answer documents or the examinations and so forth before we dismiss students. But rest assured, your building level AP coordinator will explain your exam guidelines for that day. Some of the things are just generic. Students will break a pencil, or they may need an extra piece of paper. In some cases, they may need access to calculators if they're doing a math or a science exam. That is something that, again, the AP building level coordinator will talk to you about. But it's okay to have extra pencils sharpened or extra paper available readily for students to use. We want to encourage students not to eat, drink, or have conversations in the AP testing room, because it needs to be a serious, high stakes, environment where students are taking it seriously. And if they're having informal conversations or eating and drinking, it can cause disruptions and or could upset the actual exams or the testing materials. So encourage students to leave all food and drink and have any conversations outside of the actual testing room. However, we're not allowed to have any phones or mobile devices during the exam by students. Proctors can have them available because we need them for emergencies, but students should not have any phones, smartwatches, or any of that in the actual exams. If it's an emergency, and this could happen, that would be a case-by-case basis, and I would follow the guideline with your building level AP coordinator or your lead proctor for that matter. We do want to also make sure that there are perceived or real conflicts of interest avoided. And what that means is, for example, I'm a dad and my son's in 6th grade. So I could be a proctor for the AP exams because he's not in an AP class or taking an AP exam. If any of your immediate family or friends are taking that, it's really immediate family, are taking an AP exam, then there is a perceived conflict of interest, and that's where we need to avoid it, especially if they're in an area like if you have a child in an immediate household or a family member in the immediate household taking an AP exam, we cannot allow you to be an AP proctor just because we cannot have any perceived or real conflicts of interest where you could cheat or the College Board assumes we cheat. We need responsible adults. That's why we can't ask our high school kids that are not taking the AP exam to do it. They have to be a responsible adult as a proctor. So thank you for volunteering or signing up to be a proctor. We do have funds to help provide on an hourly basis, but asking former teachers, retired teachers, former students or whatnot that are adults, it is a labor of love. And we can't pay you what we want, but it is something we can pay. So thank you very much for volunteering. If you were a previous teacher, we ask that perceived conflict of interest, don't proctor a content area that you taught. So if you were a former math teacher, don't proctor an AP math exam. You could do any of the other ones, but just let your AP coordinator know, I probably shouldn't teach or proctor this exam because there would be a perceived or a real conflict of interest. The biggest no-nos in the manual is proctors may not be employed part-time or full-time as a test preparation company. So Kaplan, or if you work for the College Board, we are not allowed to have proctors be proctors if they are employed part or full-time at a test preparation company. If you're taking any AP exam or reviewing the content, that's a big no-no. And then if you're coaching any content that could be College Board licensed or copyrighted, that's a big no-no as well. So no taking pictures, no doing a training on your own after the fact about what's available and what experience you've seen while proctoring an AP exam. Okay, proctor to ratio, there is some new information. Generally speaking, we've been looking at the number of AP students we have for each exam and deciding how many proctors we need in each room. So for example, the majority of our high schools will have from 1 to 50. So we'll need from 1 to 2 proctors in each room. So if you've been contacted by your AP building coordinator, they will let you know what day and time, whether it's an AM or a PM shift. And in some cases, it may be all day. So we want you to wear comfortable walking shoes, dress comfortably. You don't have to wear business attire. It can be, business casual. We want you to feel comfortable and relaxed because you are the adult in that room. And if you're comfortable and relaxed, we hope our kids will be comfortable and relaxed for the exam. In some cases, we do have 2 or 3 exams where we have more than 200 kids taking an exam, like our AP English Language or AP English Lit. We need 5 to 6 proctors on those days. And we may always want 1 or 2 extra in case of sickness or other issues. And we know that happens. If you get sick on a proctoring day, just contact immediately as soon as possible your AP building coordinator to let them know so we can plan accordingly. We don't want to get hurt by the College Board for not having enough minimum number of proctors in our room. So we've always tried to count at least +1 or +2 or have extras on site. We must have a proctor in the exam room at all times. So that is a big one. We cannot leave students or devices in the rooms by themselves. We always have to have a proctor in the room, whether that's one proctor while they go to the restrooms. We have to have a physical adult proctor in the rooms at all times. You can only have one proctor role assigned to the test day toolkit. Oftentimes, like at New Tech, that will probably be the AP coordinator, so you don't even have to worry about accessing the AP toolkit. They likely will just need you to walk up and down the aisles or help assist with the restroom changes and answer any questions should something come up like broken pencils, needing extra paper, things like that. But the big advice that I would give you is please arrive before students on the test day. So if your exam starts at 8 a.m., I would encourage you to be there 30 to 45 minutes ahead of time, or whatever other guidance your AP building level coordinator has requested for you for the day of your exam. Oh, so the new part is additional staff can be assigned to room monitor. We will have room runners outside to help keep students quiet. That was something we learned last year, is that we can ask our high school kids to be room monitors or hallway monitors, so that way they can help keep the noise level down and help students be more productive on their AP exams. So here's the list of all the videos. It is one of our slides that I don't want to bore you with watching all the videos, but these are actual YouTube videos put out by the College Board that will give you lots of opportunities to explain the trainings and tutorials needed for your specific duties, roles, or responsibilities, because I don't want to bore you. If you already know this, you're rocking and rolling, that's great. If you want to do follow-up, I'll give you access to all of this hyperlinks and stuff. I also like that they now have a one-stop shop for how to be an AP exam or how to be an AP proctor for the exam. That is also pretty helpful. So I will stop talking for a second and watch this quick 9-minute video that explains how to be a proctor in better terms than me.
Administering a proctor digital AP exam is new for many schools. So let's see a preview of what it's like for students using the Blue Book testing app and for proctors using Test Day Toolkit. And be sure to download and follow along in the AP Proctor Exam Day Guide. Before exam day, the AP coordinator will set up Test Day Toolkit, the web application used to administer digital exams. In Test Day Toolkit, coordinators create rooms and add and assign staff as proctors and room monitors. Access the Blue Book website for step-by-step setup instructions. When the AP coordinator adds a staff member, the staff member will receive an access email. Proctors should follow the steps in the email and on the Blue Book website to be ready for exam day. On the day of the exam, AP coordinators should have exam materials in the exam room, including a copy of the AP Proctor Exam Day Guide. Proctors should arrive before students and sign in to Test Day Toolkit with their College Board account. You are proctoring multiple AP exam administrations. You will need to choose the exam. Click the Help menu to access helpful proctoring tips. On exam day, proctors use Test Day Toolkit to confirm the room is ready for testing, take attendance, communicate instructions, and monitor progress. Begin room setup steps by confirming room information, room seating, spacing, and that all students face the same direction or all students face the wall. Then, check your room supplies and distribute scratch paper on each desk. Notify your AP coordinator if supplies are missing or damaged. If you're proctoring AP Computer Science Principles, you should have a printed Personalized Project Reference, PPR, for each student. Give students their PPR as they enter the room or once they're seated. Next, test the internet connection in the room by connecting to the Wi-Fi and going to collegeboard.org. Finally, write student instructions and the room code on the board so students can get started on their own as soon as they sit down. The room code is unique to the testing room and must not be shared with students testing in other rooms. After writing the instructions on the board, set up a place and prepare to collect any prohibited devices students bring into the exam room. Room setup is complete. Proctors can now open the door and invite students into the exam room. check the identity of any students they don't know, and help them get seated. Once students sit in their seats, they should power up their testing device and follow the instructions the proctor wrote on the board. Students begin Blue Book check-in by clicking the star icon to open Blue Book, signing in using their College Board student account, and clicking the yellow Check-in Now button on the exam card. Students continue the check-in process by confirming their personal information, reviewing and accepting the AP exam terms and conditions, confirming their device information, entering the room code the proctor has written on the board, and then the exam downloads to the student's device. Once the download finishes, students complete the check-in process in Blue Book. In Test Day Toolkit, proctors move to the Take Attendance screen to take attendance and oversee the check-in process. Once students are seated in the room, proctors read the student announcement. As students enter the room code and join the room, their names appear in the entered room code list. And directions are available. Proctors mark students physically present in the testing room as present. This step is an important security measure. Don't click the button if you don't see the student in the room.
So this is the new step we had to do physically previously when it was all paper and pencil, but we do have to physically mark on the Blue Book app that they're present in the room, but students will have to log into Blue Book themselves. I want to reassure y'all, students and AP teachers have been practicing with students how to log into Blue Book and utilizing some of this stuff already. So do not feel pressure to start reinventing the wheel and teaching every kid that's taken an AP test how to do this. They have been practicing. Our AP coordinators are front loading a lot of this work. So I'm just wanting y'all to kind of see what they see as a preference or as a practice right now.
Students must be marked present before they can start the exam. As proctors take attendance, students continue the check-in process in Blue Book by typing a security pledge, getting their desks ready, watching a short silent video for an overview of the tools, and reading an overview of the exam. The last check-in step informs students that their device will be locked when the exam starts. When students see the start code screen, they're ready to begin the exam. They will wait on this screen for the proctor to give instructions and share the code. As students complete app check-in, their names move to the Ready to Test list. When the names of students in the room have moved to the Ready to Test list, proctors should proceed to the final steps and read aloud the exam directions to students. Proctors begin by reading the welcome script, the desk check script, and performing a final check and collecting any prohibited items. Then, reading aloud policies about the break, unscheduled breaks, and accommodations. Proctors can scroll down the page to access the student roster if a student started a little later than the others, and they need to mark them present. Next, proctors read aloud the final instructions for starting the exam and ask if students have questions. Finally, proctors read aloud the start code and write it on the board. Do not give out the start code until you are ready for students in the room to begin testing. The start code is unique to the exam and the room. Click the Next Step button to begin monitoring students taking the exam. Students enter the start code in Blue Book, and their exam begins. When students enter the start code, timed testing begins. Their testing status in the dashboard changes from not started to section 1. Proctors monitor students by walking around the room, observing and using the dashboard to monitor their progress.
So the lead proctor in each room, which will likely be the building level AP coordinator, will be in charge of monitoring the dashboard. I would just encourage y'all to follow your building level AP coordinator's discretion on what they need from y'all. And a lot of times it's just going to be walking up and down the halls or the aisles to ensure that kids are moving along and they're on task or they're not being disruptive. And we definitely don't want cheating or any of those access to prohibited devices. That's the majority of your role. So don't stress out about a lot of the technology side. We are handling that as the building level AP coordinators and the district level AP coordinators, unless you've been specifically assigned as the lead proctor for that room. Okay. But I wanted you to see this as well, because this is a new transition for the AP administration exam day.
Proctors can use filters to identify students who haven't started the exam, are behind the other students, or are having an issue. Be sure to follow up with any students in an exited status. Once students start their exam, a countdown timer indicates the time remaining in the section. Students can hide the timer if they wish. When time expires for the section, students automatically move to the break, and a timer counts down the break.
And that's another key role for proctors, is that we need us to monitor students during break, but also monitoring the devices and the access to the AP Blue Book app during the breaks as well. So if you are a proctor, breaks are for students. We are working during that time just to make sure that they're not accessing or destroying, any activities in the actual exam room. That is something new too. Previously, we had to monitor time, like start and stop time. Now it's all digitized individually on their screens. So students should be aware of this, but there may be some new students to our district that transfer in the next 3 weeks that we don't know about. And so as a proctor, they have that countdown on their screens, but they can hide that. And that is a new feature.
The monitoring dashboard shows when students are on their break. When the scheduled break between sections ends, students review the Section 2 directions, and when ready, click the Resume Testing button to begin Section 2. If there are students who do not begin the next section on their own, discreetly prompt them to do so. Students move to Section 2 and start writing their response. They can use the question menu to move ahead or go back to a previous question. Students do not submit their answers when they're done. They should check their work or wait patiently until the timer runs out. When the time for the last section expires, the exam ends. Students' answers are submitted, and students see the congratulations screen. When testing time runs out for all students, proctors check the Test Day Toolkit dashboard to confirm that students' answers were submitted, then dismiss students with a submitted status. Check the AP Proctor Exam Day Guide for next steps if students have any other status. Then click the Next Step button for dismissal instructions and guidance on reporting any problems. When all students have been dismissed, proctors log out of Test Day Toolkit and let the AP coordinator know the room has finished testing. Thank you for your attention. Please carefully review the AP Proctor Exam Day Guide, Troubleshooting Guide, and resources on AP Central for additional information.
That is our new online digital overview. It is 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, 9 minutes and 30 seconds. This will be available in our presentation as well. I also have a 30-minute version if you want to see a digital longer version with more detail, or for how to proctor. But then we also have a highlights that is a 40-minute video. All 3 videos are available in this presentation and online, but we wanted you to know kind of just the broad overview first. And some of you may not ever need to look at this other stuff. So it is up to you. If you feel like you want to know, you have access to it. Or if you need to review it multiple times, you have access to it. But just know that your building level AP coordinator will give you specific instructions for what they need for your role on the day of. I just encourage y'all to not show up at the start time, show up at least 45 to 60 minutes beforehand. So, key dates. We officially have our first AP exam on Monday, May 5th, and it's lasting for the full 2 weeks. Those are the scheduled date start times. We have an AM shift starting at 8 a.m. and an afternoon start time starting at 12 p.m. If you're doing a morning shift or an afternoon shift, try to be there at least an hour or 45 minutes before. Follow your building level AP coordinator guidelines. There is an AP manual if you want to follow the specific duties, but that is way too much. It's like several hundred pages, and I would encourage you, just don't stress about it, but that is available, and we've been following it with a fine-tooth comb because we want to make sure we don't have any testing irregularities and we do what's best for all kids. Some other ideas if you are doing a specific exam. So some of you might signed up for AP Spanish Lit, which will be paper-based. There are specific instructions on page like 111, or if you're doing an AP Music Theory, there's specific pages that you can reference. That's a case-by-case basis. So depending on the day that you can volunteer to sign up and the exam that you're doing, I would specifically look at what those requirements are, or have that conversation with your building AP coordinator to see what they need from you. If you're looking at the dates, here are the dates. Whoops. Let me just click the link. Here are your 2025 AP exam dates. Notice, like on Monday, we start with AP Biology and AP Latin. We do not offer AP Latin, and to my knowledge, we're not offering no students signed up to take an AP Latin exam. So we will just be offering AP Biology at all 3 high schools. All 3 sites will be at separate locations just because of fidelity, and we want to make sure bandwidth isn't going to hurt the Wi-Fi connectivity and whatnot. Then in the afternoon, I know we have one school doing AP European History. No schools that I know of are doing microeconomics. So it will look different every single day. Tuesday the same, Wednesday, and so forth. So the first week is already published. The second week is already published. Things happen. Kids get sick. Softball or basketball or baseball or something pops up and a scheduling conflict comes up. That happens. Generally, we need to know that now so we can go ahead and schedule or reserve an alternate or a late day exam, AP exam. But we know that life happens. So if something happens, please just be a reassuring adult on the exam day. Just tell kids, we will do whatever we can to make sure that we fix this, but calm down. Let's put a plan in place and connect with your building level AP coordinator. All right, so some Q&A, and before we stop the recording, here are some generic questions we've already received. One is, what if I don't have a College Board account and I'm an AP proctor? You do not need to create one because your AP building coordinator will add you to a specific AP exam, and an email will generate that will include a link and instructions for what you need to do. That's a 2-step verification. So do not feel like you have to immediately go out and create your College Board account or whatnot. And in some cases, you may not need to create an account at all because you may just be the room proctor, not the lead proctor. So if that's too much stress or too much responsibility, have that conversation with your building AP coordinator if they ask you to be the lead proctor for that room. Some questions were, well, okay, what's the difference between a lead proctor and a room monitor? Lead proctors are the only ones that will have access to the test day toolkit, meaning the access to get that code to write on the wall or do check-ins on the attendance. And a lot of times that's going to be your building level AP coordinator. So you won't even need to worry about that. But in some cases, especially if there's multiple exams happening at the same time on the same day in different rooms, we may need you to be a lead proctor. And that would be, you will read the script in your room. You'll be the one that shares or does the start-stop times. You'll mark the students physically present in the rooms, and then just assist the other adults in the monitoring of the room progress. If you're just a room monitor or a room monitor proctor, you'll be the ones that supports your lead proctor and is basically answering questions from kids, handling pencils and paper, the basics. So that's why I say don't stress out about this. But we do need to make sure we have a plan in place. And there may be a time where we have to go from a room monitor to a lead monitor, or in some cases, just it will be a case by case basis, and talk to your building level AP coordinator, Dr. Weaver, Mrs. Raymond, or Mr. Martinez. And another question that we keep having asked is, should I bring my own computer or use a separate computer? Each room administering an AP exam will have their own computer access, and AP exams for those proctors, you will need a device, but we will have devices available or set up for you. So you do not need to bring your own device for accessing the test day toolkit or any of that aspects. So with that being said, I know sometimes people don't want to ask questions. I will pause the recording. I do want you to know we appreciate you volunteering or signing up to be a paid proctor. Thank you. If you have follow-up questions, we do want to give you the presentation with those hyperlinks. I'll post that in the chat. But thank you very much for being a AP exam proctor for the Rogers Public School District.